Lorenz along with George Zimmerman on Travel Michigan. And George, where are we headed to next?
Well, to one of our favorite Michigan towns, and that's Kalamazoo, to talk to Ann Drummond, the marketing manager at Imperial Beverage, about an event they have coming up in a couple weeks, which is that they're a sponsor of, among others, and that's Kalamazoo Beer Week. And Ann, it sounds like a good thing to do in the winter. Let's have a beer week.
You're absolutely right. It will definitely it will definitely scratch that itch of the boredom in January. That's for sure.
There you go. Though we never get bored in Pure Michigan. I just want to point that out.
No, never.
So Beer Week, what happens?
Well, Kalamazoo Beer Week, this will be its third year, and we're really excited to say that the response to it has been magnificent and enormous. In our first year, we had 16 events hosted by 14 locations, and in our second year, we grew to 106 events.
Wow.
So, yes, it really has grown some legs, and it's walking on its own now, that's for sure.
Yep.
We're super excited about it because Kalamazoo Beer Week hosts brewers, brewery representatives, home brewers, and other people who are really interested in the craft of beer and craft beer itself all over Kalamazoo.
Well, on this topic, craft beer brewing is just, everywhere. It's so popular now, and it's such the in thing. It's, in some ways, beer is the new wine.
You're absolutely right. It's interesting. If you follow industry trends, you'll know that beer sales over the last several years have been flat or just slightly fluctuating down.
Right.
What we're discovering is that craft beer has been up magnificently in the double digits year over year the past several years. So what we're discovering is that craft beer, the craft beer movement, it has become so popular, and kind of the nature of craft beer being so just entrepreneurial in spirit really speaks to the local consumer. And so we're really proud of this series of events that centers on such a cool craft product.
Yep.
Well, and the whole thing about craft beer, isn't that line kind of blurring a little bit? Because it seems like so many of the really good Michigan microbrews are getting to be so well known that they're distributing to a greater audience.
Well, they are distributing to a larger audience, but the Brewers Association has some really specific rules about what can be considered craft beer and what can't. You have to be what they consider small, independent, and traditional. So small, meaning craft beer producers that make fewer than 6 million barrels each year. And that sounds like a whole heck of a lot.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
It does. But if you think about it, Samuel Adams is right at that kind of cusp. Okay, so it's everything smaller or handcrafted, smaller than that. And it really represents, Samuel Adams on the largest end, but of course, all of our favorite local craft brews on the smaller end. Independent, to be considered a craft beer, you have to have less than 25% of the craft brewery is owned or controlled by a beverage industry member who's not themselves a craft brewer. Okay?
Yep.
And then also traditional. So they have to have certain beers, certain kinds or styles of beers as their flagships and their flagship brands that they sell. So small, independent, and traditional is what makes a beer craft. And really, for the layman, for those of us who are interested in experiencing this, it's really about supporting local beer,
right.
Supporting small business. And there's certainly a trend of that in the marketplace, too. So that's really what you have to remember.
Well, I mentioned the comparison to the wineries and the wine industry in the state, too. And a lot of the things that are now happening with beer seem to kind of take a page from the wine industry as well, with the things like pairings and tours and tastings and, that kind of thing. So talk about those experiences.
Absolutely. Kalamazoo Beer Week is comprised of a litany, a laundry list of those exact kinds of experiences. Brewers get together with retail or restaurant owners, and they forge a partnership over both of their core competencies. So one of them, obviously, is craft beer brought to the table, whether that's a special release or something that is highly desired and difficult to get, or it could even be something so special as year over year, the same product brewed year over year and perhaps aged. In the wine world, we think of that as a vertical tasting. Multiple vintages of the same product. That could be true of beer as well. So those kinds of things on the beer side for Kalamazoo Beer Week events. On the food side, It could be, really, each event has kind of a programmed element, so it could be pairings. It could be, one of my favorite pairing events that I attended was a Shorts Brewing Company beers paired with different kinds of desserts, which is something that you don't necessarily think of.
Yep, exactly.
There's any number of things. You could go to, an area retailer and have the brewer of the beer that you're purchasing sign your bottle. So there's all sorts of different kinds of things out there.
Yeah. So that's, and I think that the people have learned so much more, and consumers are so much more knowledgeable about beer, and obviously the palate in the same way has also changed dramatically, and people are trying very different kinds of beer.
People are adventurous about their beer.
Yep.
And I think that craft brewers are rising to that challenge. They absolutely are. Part of the excitement about the entrepreneurial spirit of craft brewers is that they're willing to go out there with their ingredients or their pairings or their flavor profiles. I mean, they're willing to push the envelope, so to speak, and the consumer is not just listening, but experiencing and buying. And it's exciting to see such a movement of adventuresome consumers.
I was visiting actually a Detroit microbrew operation, and they were telling me they were experiencing with bacon. Bacon and beer. What could be more natural?
I think that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
In my opinion, bacon makes everything better.
Isn't that true? Isn't it true?
There is something to that. So you've got all these events going on, and this really is a week long of activity. Is that right?
It is. It's January 12th through the 18th, so just a couple weeks away.
Right.
And very exciting. There's a list of events that's forming and growing every single day. So those events can be found online, certainly, and we'll share with listeners the web address in a minute. But that event list is growing every single day. So it's one of those bookmark and check back, because our restaurants and retailers are adding events, and our brewers are adding events, and there's some exciting things that are coming to fruition.
Well, and it looks like it's, in this Kalamazoo Beer Week, it looks like you're offering more than only little symposiums and things. It looks like you're offering kind of some really kind of big things, like dinners with some of the brewers.
Yes, absolutely. There's a local restaurant that hosts what they call a chef's table, and that chef's table, it's very limited seating, but it's a highly desired place to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple courses, usually 4 to 5 courses, and they have actually invited the local brewers to be the sous chef for the night, as well as provide the pairings for each of the courses. So that's an exciting event, and that will occur, I think, 4 times throughout the week. So those are highly desired events. There's also a number of dinners that are a little bit less formal. Okay, so local restaurants or brew pubs that might brew their own products are pairing with appetizers or small bites, from their own menu. So that's much of a less structured thing. You don't have to be there at a certain time, that kind of thing. You can just show up and order from that specific menu. So there's all different styles of events. Ones for which you need reservations, ones you can just walk in, or ones where you can go to your favorite retail establishment and have a brewer sign your bottle or 6-pack.
That's great. So, and we have to mention, too, as we wrap up here, that the other thing that makes this great, obviously, is what's going on in downtown Kalamazoo. And for folks who have not been there recently, again, we would say it is a thriving, hopping little downtown with a lot of cool things going on, and this is just part of it. And I think that's part of the attraction, right, Ann?
It absolutely is. Kalamazoo is a really great place to live, work, or visit. And, I can't tell you how excited I am to call Kalamazoo my home. But I'm also really excited that we've been thinking about those that might be visiting as it relates to Kalamazoo Beer Week. So on the website, we've put together a bunch of little packages where they might get a special rate at a hotel or bed and breakfast, and also have some Kalamazoo Beer Week things tacked on to their stay. So
that's great.
Consider checking those out, too.
Yep, and for info on all of that, go to KalamazooBeerWeek.com. Thanks to Ann Drummond, the marketing manager at Imperial Beverage, for telling us all about it. And Dave, there are other things going on.
Of course, New Year's Eve, right around the corner, and we have all these ball drops all over the state. There are events all over the place for New Year's, but this I thought was really kind of interesting. It's different. It's the New Year's bridge drop. Yes, you heard it. A bridge will drop. It's in Charlevoix, and what they're doing, they have the drawbridge there.
Yes.
I think technically it's a bascule bridge, but we'll call it a drawbridge.
Let's do.
And they'll open it up, and then they'll drop it at midnight. So there you go. It'll be with music and sparklers, and and they'll have a procession to the bridge and all those people backed up. But it's going to be a good time in Charlevoix at the New Year's Bridge Drop. Very unique. And then on New Year's Day, if you're looking for something kind of fun to do, here's something else. In Lexington, they have a New Year's Day bike ride, so that will be a good time. At 10 o'clock, they're going to be kind of near the Croswell, and then they'll take the bike path, and should be a good time. Over in Grand Haven, on Friday the 4th, they're having their event called Wine About Winter. So you get to whine about winter with real wine, by the way. No complaints, just wines. And then over in Hale by Escoda, they have the Hale Yes Winterfest coming up next weekend as well. Cute. For information on these, all you have to go to just go to the website. We'll fill you in more. Well, speaking of filling you in, we're going to tell you all about what's happening at Thunder Bay Resort next, right here on Travel Michigan, where your trip begins at Michigan.org.